Okay, welcome back. We are on inverse of a function. Let f be a one-to-one function with domain A and range B. Then its inverse function this. So if you see f, this f raised to power minus 1 means the inverse has domain B and range A, and is defined by that. That the inverse of y is x. Or you say that f of x is y. So see the diagram. Use the arrow diagram. So the domain, you can see that the domain of f is the range of the inverse of f, while the range of f is the domain of the inverse of f. So let's look at this simple question. So we ask if f of 10 is 2, then inverse of f of 2 is, without wasting time from what I've just said, with our arrow diagram, I can copy it. Let's just copy and put values. So from this, f of 10 is 2, so the image is 2, while the domain, so f of 10 is 2. So the opposite now, inverse of f of 2 is now 10, so the answer is 10. The answer is option A. So that's it. We're asked to find the inverse of this. This is very simple, straightforward. So there's a relationship connecting a function and its inverse. Let me use a diagram. So the domain of f is now the range of f of its inverse, while the range of f is the domain of its inverse. From here, the domain, this is the function. You see that the domain of this function is the set of the s coordinates. So the domain is, we have 1, we have 0, we have -1, we have 3. So these are that's the domain. While the range of f is the set of the y coordinates. So therefore, from what we've said now, the domain of f is the range of that. So we can see that the inverse of this function will be just interchanged. So it's now 2, 1, because we say that domain of f is the range of the inverse. So we interchange. That's the answer. Just interchange the values. Interchange x and y coordinates. So that's it. That's the inverse. So whenever you are given this type of question, just interchange the coordinates. So that's the answer. Thank you. By graphical method, a function and its inverse is gotten by reflecting each other. So if I reflect f about line y of x, we have the inverse. So that's the graphical representation. So whenever you reflect a function about a line y equal to x, the function gotten is now the inverse. So let's now find the procedure for finding the inverse of a function. General steps. So procedure for solving for the inverse of a function. First of all, we need to write the equation in terms of x. That's make it the subject of formula. We interchange. Secondly, we interchange x and y. The result is the inverse. So let's look at this question. Find the inverse of this. So we are given in terms of y. We are given that y is 3x minus 4. So the first step is to write in terms of x. So solve for x. So 3x is y plus 4. X is now y plus 4 over 3. So we interchange. The second step, we interchange x and y. So the result, this is now our inverse. So that's the inverse of this function. Find the inverse of this function. So the first thing we have to do is to make y this. The first thing we have to do is to, like, f of x is the same as y. So we'll make x the subject of formula. Like I said before, the steps. You have to write the equation in terms of x. Then we interchange x and y. Whatever that we have is now the inverse of the function. So let's make the subject of formula. So first thing, we'll move 3 over 7 minus, that's 3 over 7 to be minus 3 over 7. Then we'll multiply by 2. So 2 times y minus 3 over 7. So that's it. So the next thing is to interchange. So we interchange x and y. So therefore this is our, that's the inverse. So it's very simple. Find the inverse of this function. So remember the steps. The first of all, okay, let's write f of x as y. So the next thing we have to do is to make s the subject of formula here. So let's write this equation in terms of x. So first of all, we cross multiply. We have y xy, that's y times that plus 7y is equal to 4x plus 3. And I have x and I have x, so I factor. So I have, okay, let's move it first. 4x, y, this is minus 3, that's 3 minus 7y. So we'll factor x because we are making it the subject of formula. So what do you notice? X is now 3 minus 7y over y minus 4. Better still, we can write it as, that's x equal to, we can write it as 7y minus 3 over 4 minus y. That's, we factored minus 1, so that's why it's 7y minus. So wherever we see x, call it y. Finally, this is now our inverse. So this is the inverse of, that's the inverse of this function.